We're going to return to our main story, and a knife amnesty and compensation scheme has been launched today. It comes ahead of a ban that comes into force next month.
Yes, from today until the 23rd of September, zombie-style blades and machetes can be handed in anonymously to police stations across England and Wales. Now, these knives, which are sometimes called statement knives, are often favoured by criminal gangs.
Yeah, anyone who hands in a weapon at a designated centre will be entitled to claim £10, but could claim more depending on what they surrender. Now, the amnesty scheme comes ahead of new legislation next month that aims to close loopholes in the law. From the 24th of September, it will be illegal to own, sell or transport zombie knives and machetes. Anyone in possession of them could face a prison sentence.
Well, we're joined now by Yvonne Lawson, who founded the Godwin Lawson Foundation in memory of her son, who was 17 when he was fatally stabbed while trying to protect his friends. Welcome, Yvonne. Thank you so much for joining us. And I imagine, no, you're very welcome. And I imagine 14 years on from Godwin being killed, it probably doesn't get much easier to talk about. How much of a difference does it make being involved in trying to tackle the problem?
I mean, as you rightly said, 14 years on, and we're still grieving all the time, every single day. It doesn't really get any better. However, with the work we do, it brings a lot of comfort knowing that in Godwin's memory, we're trying to save lives. It's very comforting to do the work we do. Very, very comforting.
Do you think an initiative like this is the answer? Because we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks. That, you know, anyone handing in one of these awful weapons will get £10, maybe a little bit more. They have to take it to a designated centre. The idea, of course, is to get these knives off the streets. But if people want to carry knives, they will find a way to do so, won't they?
Well, I think the overall objective is promising. I think the objective is good. Anything that we do to take knives off the street potentially can save lives. So I think in theory, the objective is good. However, practically, would it work? Let's be realistic here. We know the cohort of young people that are in possession of these knives, these zombie knives. They may be young people that have got hostile relationship with the police. Are they willing, would they be willing to walk into the police station and hand over these weapons? So, you know, the objective is good. Taking knives off the street, save lives, potentially. But we need to really look at how it's realistically going to work. Personally, I think if they could get community members, teachers, young, practitioners that really have a positive relationship with young people, to sit them down, talk through this campaign, what it means. What does it mean not to carry these weapons? Potentially, you can save your lives, you can save, your community members' life, you can save yourself from going to prison. And most importantly, to change their behavioural mindset. I think that's what's the key, to prevent them from carrying these knives in the first place.
And that broader work of improving community relations and tackling the issue by working with young people right from the beginning, that is a lot more long-term and harder, isn't it? Now, the government says it wants to halve knife crime within a decade. Given what you've said about what really needs to be done to address the root of the problem, do you think that is achievable, that aim?
I think we need to look at the root causes, and currently we're working with the VRU. They have a fantastic model at looking at the root causes to violence, and we know what the root causes are, such as school exclusion, mental health issues, dysfunctional homes. The list goes on and on. We need to look at all these risk factors, and the government put in the right resources to combat these risks and put in, positive interventions so that we get young people not carrying the knives in the first place. So we need lots of interventions, lots of mentoring, for example, lots of employability, skills for those young people that want to get into employment. I'm not sure if just giving £10 to young people would deter them from carrying these knives.
If this legislation had been in place 14 years ago, would it have made a difference for you and your family?
as I rightly said, I think knives of the street potentially decreases young people from dying on the street. Who knows? The young person that took Godwin's life was actually carrying a machete. So I think anything that we do to take knives off the street can save lives. And Godwin possibly could still have been here. Who knows?
Are you surprised that it's therefore taken this long for a ban to be put into place? I mean, it's only coming in next month.
It's quite disgraceful, actually. This has been long overdue. Godwin died 14 years ago. Every single day, we lose a young person on the street. I think the government needs to step up and do more to save lives.
What would that look like? You've talked about involving teachers and community leaders and those that can talk directly to young people. What practical steps need to change to, as you say, discourage people carrying them in the first place? Because we know statistically, just by carrying, you become more likely to be a victim yourself. Before you even talk about using them, how do we stop people carrying them?
I think there's lots of work that needs to be done, and it needs to be done at the right age as well. So going into primary schools, talking to young people about the dangers of these weapons, the long-term impacts that it can have on lives, and getting young people to almost understand why these weapons are dangerous, why they mustn't carry it, and also looking at the impact of negative decision-making. So sometimes young people make these decisions and they don't know the impact. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and we also need to look at the root causes. So as I rightly mentioned before, root causes such as mental health, for example, school exclusion. We know that 61% of prisoners were excluded from school. So all these risk factors are there. So all I'm urging the government to do, just like VRU, we're working with them to look at the root causes, because we know that violence can be preventable.
Yvonne, thank you for talking to us about this. It's really important work, isn't it? Yvonne Lawson, thank you.
Thank you so much, Yvonne.
Thank you for
the
having me.
Godwin Lawson Foundation.
Thank you.